Hi, our course project for deep generative models was joke generation using autoregressive language models. The objective was to experiment with different autoregressive models for text generation and make them learn humor. Specifically, we compared the performance of LSTMs, text GANs, and transformers on this task by training them on joke datasets. Humor generation is a very difficult aspect for ML models to capture due to its subjectivity. Also, GANs have shown immense success in the field of photorealistic image generation, but they tend to perform poorly for text, which is a discrete sequence data and thus requires novel methods of training. We explored SegGAN, which employs an RL based policy gradient update for training generator. We also experimented with a differentiable way of sampling called Gumbel Softmax Estimator. We compared this with the performance of Distill GPT-2, which is a lightweight transformer model, and fine-tune it to generate jokes. Our setup involved using English plain text joke datasets as our training sets, which included a dataset of 200k short jokes by Abhinav Modgil on Kaggle and English plain text jokes scraped out of websites like Reddit and Waka. Now let's talk about the technical methods. GPT-2 is a 12-layer decoder-only transformer with multi-headed masked self-attention. It is pre-trained on 40 gigabytes of internet text for next word prediction, and we fine-tuned it to generate humor. Next, we looked at SegGAN, which is a text scan framework which optimizes the expected reward of a generated sentence using reinforcement-based learning. It updates the generative models with the policy gradients and Monte Carlo search with multiple rollouts on the expected end reward received from the discriminator. We run into this non trivial way of training due to the discrete nature of text. Performing one hot and argmax operations during sampling words breaks differentiability required for conducting backprop, due to which we cannot use normal multinomial sampling during the training of the generator. Therefore, we also explored a differentiable approximation to a categorical sampling called Gumbel Softmax Estimator in our text scan to see how that affected the training of GAN. For our experiments, we performed the following data preprocessing. We filtered out the samples with explicit and profane words and then tokenized it and converted it into vocab indices vectors. Also, we kept the maximum sequence length cropped to 20 words. It is For our evaluation metrics, it was difficult to get a direct comparison between our models because of a large difference in training times and difficulty in training GANs. Therefore, we relied on cross entropy loss or perplexity and human evaluation for comparing the performance of our models. To conduct human evaluation, we generated 100 samples in each model and did a human evaluation of what percentage of these sentences made logical sense. Our experiment started with a baseline LSTM model trained on 10,000 jokes from the short jokes dataset. And one problem which LSTMs were seen to have were that the long sentences rarely made sense because LSTMs try to encode all the context in one hidden vector. Then we proceeded to SegGAN. Training GANs led to a lot of problems because firstly we are missing an oracle, because we do not know the exact distribution of the vocabulary. Then unbalanced discriminators versus generators for custom data sets also lead to a discriminator attaining a very high training accuracy early on, which doesn't allow gradients to be propagated to required to train the generator. Also, GANs suffer from mode collapse convergence failures, which is why Gumbel softmax based training doesn't lead to a large drop in the training loss for the generator. So it was observed that GANs ended up overfitting on the data, and the few sentences that they could generate would typically be from the training set itself. GPT-2 was seen to have the best performance out of everything that we experimented with. We used the distilled GPT-2 text checkpoint for fine-tuning on the jokes dataset, and it was seen that 75% of the output was logically sound compared to around 19% in LSTMs. And here are some examples which were generated by the GPT-2 model. So for our future work, we are think about cleaning the data set more thoroughly to avoid bias and discriminatory content, which was not accounted by the current filtering. Also, another step would be to limit the categories of the jokes used for trainings. Example would be to limit the format as a riddle or a question answer based joke, which would allow the language model to learn better. Also, there is some other literature review which we can conduct, because there exist some other text scans which can overcome some problems of SegCan, and residual energy based models for generation, which can train an energy based model as a discriminator to distinguish between real joke samples and those produced by the generator. And then a joint sampling is done from the generated text. So there definitely is a lot of scope of improvement in text generation using autoregressive language models, except for GPT-2, which works extremely well. So, but conducting all these experiments was a great learning experience for us, nevertheless. That's all. Thank you so much.